Hello there and welcome back. Today we're going to start a series of videos looking at how self-esteem and self-confidence are impacted by past life experiences, particularly those that we may have experienced in childhood, but I'm quite aware that many of you will have had emotional trauma as an adult. Quite often though, we find that adult trauma is actually a repeating pattern of something that happened earlier in life. Not always, but often. So in today's video, we'll be focusing on verbal abuse. We'll be looking at exactly what it is, what you may have experienced, and at the end of the video, I'm going to give you some tips as to how you can begin to reverse the impact that any verbal abuse you may have experienced has had on your self-esteem. In the following weeks, in other videos, we are going to be looking at emotional abuse, emotional neglect, other forms of neglect, physical abuse, and bullying. If you're ready to make changes, then this is your time. I'll give you some tips to get you on your way, but if you'd rather do this with the help of a professional therapist, my contact details are below and you're very welcome to get in touch to arrange a free chat so that we can see if working together would be a good idea. In the meantime, let's get on. So what is verbal abuse? Well, it's the chronic use of harmful language that is intended to demean, belittle, or control another person. Words can be very powerful and have a great impact on how we feel, especially when they come from somebody that we respect, trust, or love. Let's break down the different types of verbal abuse that you may have experienced, and we're going to begin by looking at insults and name calling. So insults and name calling is the use of derogatory language or offensive names or insults that are deliberately used to attack your intelligence, your ability, your physical appearance, your character. So as a child, for example, somebody may hear, "Oh, you're such a loser, you're not as clever as your sister, your brother, your neighbour." And this can come from a parent, it can come from a teacher, it can come from other kids, of course, as well. In a business setting, you might have somebody, could be your business partner, could be an investor, could be somebody else in your team who is constantly nitpicking, who is constantly finding things to say about your performance at a meeting or during a presentation, like you looked like a complete idiot in there, you were stammering and stuttering, you went red, you looked a mess. And they could repeatedly just insult you in this way in order to undermine your confidence in your ability to deliver that type of presentation or to speak up at a meeting. Sometimes you may find that this sort of criticism and insults is constant, is relentless, really trying to undermine your complete confidence in your ability to do your job. And you will hear words like you're always so clumsy or so slapdash, and you never manage to do this or that, and we're going to have to get somebody else in to do that because you're just not up to it, you never deliver. That sort of thing that eats away at you over time. Stepping it up a level, we may find threats and intimidation tactics, and these could be threats of physical harm, threats of psychological or emotional harm, violence, other forms of intimidation that are designed to instill fear in you and to gain a certain level of control over you. So for a child, you may have heard, if you tell anybody about this, then I'll make you regret it, or you have no idea what's coming to you if you talk to anybody about what I've just done. In a business setting, you may find a business partner or an investor making threats along the lines of, if you don't do what I say, then I'll make sure that everybody knows exactly what a loser you are. I'll make sure that nobody ever invests in you or your businesses again. The abuse can be delivered in a quiet, threatening manner, or it can consist of yelling and shouting, even screaming in somebody's face. And again, it's all about gaining power and control, intimidating you and undermining you and your confidence in your ability to do something. So a child may hear, shut up and get out of my sight, I never want to see you again. In a professional adult setting, again, anything can be shouted or yelled to make it feel even more intimidating, even more frightening. So you could be yelled at to get out of the room or get out of the company, and really being made to feel fear because of the raised voices, perhaps the closeness of the person as they talk to you. Mockery and sarcasm might not immediately come to mind when you talk of verbal abuse, but when they are constant, when these tactics are used relentlessly, then they do constitute abuse. So a child may hear, oh, look at you, you're pathetic, you don't even know how to tie your shoelaces yet. And this could be from a parent, from a teacher, from a sibling, from a classmate. And as an adult, you may hear sarcastic comments such as, oh, brilliant, listen to the genius at work, or well done, you've managed to mess it up yet again. Did you hear yourself in that meeting? You sounded like a 12-year-old. This sort of way of talking to you, if it is repetitive, is definitely abuse. Any one of the previous forms of abuse can be delivered in a one-to-one setting, or in a small, intimate setting, if you like. But also they can take on another level when they happen in public. And people can deliberately use the various tactics to make you feel even worse, to really drive home that humiliation that you may feel. So this can be for a child in a school setting, or in the home when there are visitors around, and somebody may just draw attention to something they've done or not done when they shouldn't have, and try and get other people on board so that child feels really ganged up on by the scene around them. So an adult, teacher, parent, carer could say, oh, look, did you see what he just did then? Or everybody look at him or her trying to do this, or making a mess of this yet again. And that humiliation that we've all experienced, at least from time to time, can be constant, can be chronic, and you can just imagine or reimagine, your cheeks aflame with embarrassment and humiliation at feeling everybody looking at you and making or believing that they are having derogatory thoughts about your ability to do something. And of course that can be extended to business settings. So in a more public arena, it could be when you're attending a conference or at a big company gathering, when somebody highlights something that you've done or not done, and again draws the attention of other people and tries to get other people on board. And depending on the strength of character of the person who is delivering the abuse, other people may feel intimidated and may feel that they have to at least look like they're agreeing with this stronger character. So we can again imagine, the cheeks on fire and just wanting the ground to swallow you up. So public humiliation is another extension of verbal abuse. Gaslighting is another verbal device that we find, especially in relationships where one of the people have some sort of personality disorder, narcissism, they may be a sociopath or a psychopath. But it can also be used on a slightly lower level, but nevertheless still very harmful. And gaslighting is the manipulation of your perception of events, of reality, and the person who is doing the gaslighting might deny that something that you know to be true is true. They may distort the facts. They may use methods and devices to make you doubt your own sanity even. So a child might hear, you're just imagining things, I didn't do that, nobody will believe you. And that sort of behaviour, those things that are heard on a repetitive basis, will have that child not knowing whether they did actually see what they thought they did or whether they've just imagined it. And that's the whole purpose of using gaslighting techniques. As an adult, whether it's in a personal relationship or in a business relationship, you may hear somebody saying, you're imagining it, you're just too sensitive, you're making it up, it's all in your head. And again, when this is repeatedly said to you, you do start to wonder if it is you, if you did imagine it. Maybe you remember occasions when you were blamed for something as a child that you didn't do. If this happened as a one-off or just every now and again, unfortunately, that's part of growing up. But if that happened to you constantly, then that also constitutes verbal abuse and was not okay. So you may have heard things along the lines of, if you weren't so stupid, or if you weren't so this or that, then I wouldn't have to do that. I wouldn't have to treat you in this way. So completely exonerating themselves from blame for any actions that they've taken and putting that responsibility onto you as a child. And you can get similar sentences in adulthood. So somebody might try to pin the complete failure of a project onto you and saying, this is all down to you, this is because you didn't deliver, or you didn't oversee it properly, or you didn't do X, Y and Z. And again, completely pushing that responsibility and that blame onto yourself. If that happens constantly, then this is another form of verbal abuse. Next up, we've got verbal threats of abandonment or rejection, which once again, if they are constant, they really eat away at your self-worth, and that fear that you are not good enough, that nobody will want to stay with you, just grows and then mushrooms into adulthood. So a child who is being verbally abused in this way may hear, if you keep doing that, then I'll leave you, or your father will leave you, your mother will leave you, nobody will want to be with you, you'll be left on your own. Obviously a terrifying thought for a young person. And in adulthood, in a business setting, it could be something along the lines of, if you don't go along with what I say, then I am going to make sure that everybody knows what you're like in business, and make sure nobody wants to work with you, make sure that nobody buys any of your products or services. On a personal level, an abusive partner could say things along the lines of, if you don't do as I say, then I'm going to leave you, and I'll make sure that when I've finished with you, nobody else is going to want to be with you. Everybody will know exactly what you're like. So really preying on that fear of being alone, and that fear of not being worthy. Lastly, we have verbal attacks on somebody's vulnerabilities, on sensitive areas, on perhaps past traumatic experiences that they've had. So things that are said to intentionally wound and hurt somebody, really where they know there are sensitivities. So as a child, somebody may hear, oh, you're so fat, you're so ugly, look at your teeth, you're so spotty, nobody's ever going to want to be friends with you, look at the state of you, look at the way you're dressed. And these comments can come from abusive parents, they can come from other adults, from teachers, and from peers, from neighbours, from people in the same school as that child, that really can get somebody to a point of feeling totally ashamed of who they are, of how they look. In adulthood, it may be your age that is being called into question, or you're too old to start a business, or you're too old to grow a business, or to try and get your business to this level. You're out of your league, you'll never do it. And perhaps referring to past mistakes and perhaps failures that you have made in business or in other areas of your life. Remember what a mess you made of X, Y or Z. Why do you think that you're going to be able to do this again? So again, the intention is to wound and is to undermine. All of the above constitute verbal abuse and is not acceptable. If you experienced any of these things, then you didn't deserve to experience them, and it was not okay. It was definitely not acceptable. And now is your time to begin doing something about it, because you may have been replaying these conversations over and over in your mind for years or even decades. When you're wanting to do something, you may hear that voice still at the back of your head, mocking or just generally saying stuff that undermines your confidence to take that step that you're wanting to take, whether it's in your business or whether it's in your personal life. If you experience these things in childhood, it's time to understand and to tell your inner child that that is over. You didn't deserve that ever, but back then you didn't have the power, the strength and choices. Now you do. And you do not have to put up with people disrespecting you, mocking you, belittling you, and abusing you verbally or otherwise in any shape or form. So, in order to begin turning the tables, you need to start taking some actions. If you're able to take the following steps, that is a fantastic start. But as I said before, sometimes it's necessary to work with a professional to either get you started or to hold your hand through the process. But the first step is for you to begin talking kindly to yourself, because the chances are you have absorbed this very negative way of talking to yourself from others around you. So if you are somebody who is always beating yourself up, calling yourself names and getting annoyed with yourself every time that you feel you make a mistake or you don't achieve a goal you set out to achieve, it's time to stop that. And it can be difficult to turn it around straight away. So if you've never spoken to yourself kindly or very little, then I suggest you start very small and choose a time of day. Could be in the morning when you get up, or it could be in the evening. And I want you to look at yourself in the mirror. And if it's the morning, you can say, okay, we're going to have a good day and you're going to do your best today. And that's all anyone can expect from you. If you're doing this exercise at the end of the day, then again, look at yourself in the mirror. Use that you form of talking to yourself. It's far more powerful than making affirmations, I am going to have a good day, I am going to do my best. Using the you form when you're talking to yourself has been shown in fMRI studies that has more impact and creates more changes in your neural pathways. So if it's at the end of the day, you can say to yourself, well done, you've done your best today, I'm really proud of you, we're going to have a good night's sleep, and tomorrow's another day, tomorrow is going to be better still. So whatever it is, start small, even if it's just for 1 minute. And if you're really not used to speaking to yourself kindly or looking at yourself in a mirror, if that's something, as for a lot of my clients, it's something that they've just never done, then just bear with it. Do it for 1 minute to start with, or even 30 seconds. It will feel strange at first, but you will get used to it, and it will really start to create a powerful shift in your way of talking to yourself and beginning to treat yourself with kindness. On that level, treating yourself with kindness, the next thing I will suggest to you is that you up your self-care practices. Again, if this is something that you're not used to doing, then just start small. Carve out 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day and just do something for you. And build on that until you're able to carve out enough time to go to the gym, or to go for a walk in the fresh air, or to watch something that brings you joy, listen to music that brings you joy. Just find little things that you enjoy and make them part of your routine. Once you start doing these two things, talking to yourself kindly and treating yourself kindly, you are pushing the bar up in terms of your self-respect. And energetically, people around you can feel that your bar is up here. And because you treat yourself with respect and with kindness and talk to yourself with compassion, other people will understand that that is how they need to talk and communicate and treat you. So give these ideas a go and let me know how you get on. If you need some support, you can start by reaching out to a trusted friend. But if you feel you need more support, professional support, then reach out to an accredited therapist. As I said before, my contact details are below, and I'd love to have a 30-minute chat with you to see if we're a good fit. So that's it for today. Until next time, have a fantastic week and bye for now.